They hate my skin. They hate my skin. Long time I thought in my work, um, working against anti-racism, I thought perhaps if I could share the horrors um, that folks of color had endured in this country. And I thought if I could just allow them to hear the personalized struggles of folks of color, particularly Black folks in this country, then something would happen. And folks would start suddenly begin to have empathy where there had not been any. And folks would suddenly shift their perspectives. But I'm clear now that that's not the answer. They hate my skin. And then because they hate my skin, their hatred, because there's only two emotions, love and fear, their hatred is rooted in fear. So they fear what might happen because of their unbelievably heinous, brutal acts towards folks of color. They fear retribution. And so they then want to then not even manage, but dominate that which they ultimately fear. And as I began to look at what this fear looks like in schools, it looks like throwing Black boys into special ed because they have a learning condition. Not you can't teach them, but rather Black boys have a condition which means that they are not able to learn. What this looks like is demonizing Black girls. They're too loud, they're too sexualized, they're too. This turns into Black men who have been taught all their lives that they're somehow other, and they either want to push through to dominate to prove that they are who they say they are, or if they haven't resolved their trauma, then they tend to do other types of behavior to prove that they are worthy. What this looks like in Black women is always pushing to do more, always pushing to be more, always thinking if I can just achieve this thing, then maybe they won't hate my skin as much. What I am seeing in our nation's country right now is the tearing away of illusions. It is the reality that people in my community have always said, which is that this country was founded on some of the most heinous and brutalized acts ever. And so, as an educator, I'm at a crossroads. How do I keep going? How do I keep working with folks who want to educate our children when ultimately many of those same folks also hate our skin and hate my skin? And of course, intersectionally, right? Folks hate my skin and then want to control my gender. How do I keep moving forward? Yeah, I've been grappling with that. Thanks. That's a great question. So, a couple of things. Number one, as Black moms, as Black parents, we must counter the hatred and fear that our babies are going to receive every day at schools. I've already talked about on this platform how I've been meeting with elementary school students who have to hear the N word every day. So much so that people are coming to them asking for an N word pass so that they can denigrate Black boys and girls at the elementary school level. That's not safe. We talk about safety in schools, that's the opposite of safe. So, what we have to do, and I'm not sure it's about pushing the schools. I think we have to create other spaces for our Black children to be safe. They can be loved, they can be seen, they can be children, they can be heard. And that can be in community programs, church programs, wherever you can take your Black child, of course, in the home, but also in other programs so that that Black child can get the strategies that they need to counteract the hatred and the fear that they'll be dealing with every day. The other thing is, I'm no longer trying to convince folks about racism and about their own fears. And right, I can no longer convince you of what's right here in your, like readily available to be seen. Like buy a book, right? So if you're not ready to release your own sense of what you think this country is and what you think your stuff is, then you're 50, 60 years old. I can't worry about that. But what I am worried about is who's in front of my children. And so I am looking for teachers who have decided that they are going to push past what there's some of their own fears and some of their own biases, and they're going to create safe spaces for all children, but particularly for children of color, and dare I say, particularly for Black children. And what that looks like is being able to teach Black children their real history. It also means being able to create spaces, at least in that classroom, where Black children and children of color are safe from slurs and other harmful language. And then three, it means teachers being able to talk about race even at a very young age. I'm done with adults who are like, I don't want my child to miss out on their childhood. I have news for you. We are putting children in prisons. We are tearing up families. Our childhood is over, right? The reality is we must have these honest conversations with our children because every single person who is making the laws, who is in Texas redistricting their voting, all those people went to schools. They went to somebody's school, and that was a missed opportunity for us to shift their perspective. I think it's over for folks my age. Like, we'll have to figure it out. But what I'm looking for are the educators who really want to do the work to create a different type of space in their classrooms. Those are the educators that I want to work with. So reach out to me if you are interested in really going deeply into how do we create classrooms where our children can be safe, can be nurtured, can be loved, and most importantly, can counteract what is happening in the world around us. That's all I can offer.